Hey guys, it's Marco again. I had to pug one raid, so I decided to try out the Backstab build. These weren't the ideal circumstances for DPS, since I was helping a semi-guild run which only killed the last boss once. I was ready for this raid with the world buff and elixir, but I was the only one. As a true professional, I forgot to change my runes for the Backstab build, so I had 60 energy cost Backstab for the first boss, which isn't good. However, I must say that after the latest changes, Saber Slash no longer leaves bleed on the first boss, which means Backstab build should be the best here. Again, I had a typical start here with 2 backstabs into Slice and Dice. It was way too slow because I didn't have the right rune, so Backstab was 60 energy and that's pretty much it. Now someone into the whole raid, someone had a buff and they didn't jump into the water, so everybody was pushed into the water. Don't do that, so whenever you get the debuff, just jump in the water and play it safe so you don't ruin other people's DPS. Now you slowly need to do a walk of shame. I don't have my sprint on, so it's gonna be a slow walk of shame. So if you get knocked from the platform on this boss, just go back, do 2 combo points and then do Slice and Dice. But as you can see, nothing is really happening on this boss and he's just gonna fall over super quickly. My DPS definitely sucked because I got pushed into the water, but at least it was better than in the previous raid when I fell like 3 times into the water. As for second boss, Backstab build here is definitely not good, so I recommend not using Backstab build here because the boss has way too much armor and Backstab is basically all physical damage. Rupture is the only thing that it's gonna do its full damage on this boss, even though if you have 5 stacks of Sunder armor, this boss still has way too much armor and the casters are gonna carry this boss fight. So again, at the start you don't really care about breaking the shell, it's gonna happen naturally. I save my combo points and I use my Saber Slash to get 3 stacks of bleed, even though I'm using Backstab build, and then I'm gonna go with Slice and Dice whenever the boss drops his shell, and then I'm just gonna do as much damage as I can. Maybe my Thistle Tea was too preemptive here because they didn't have enough aggro, so I pulled aggro. Overall, I was quite failing to hit the mark on this boss because I wasn't using Rupture. I know that we don't have a Feral Druid, I mean we have a Feral Druid but he's doing the off tank, so we don't have the 30% damage buff from bleeds. I still should have used Rupture for this boss at least. Another mistake which I did here is that I allowed my Saber Slash to go off. Now I wouldn't usually use Saber Slash like on pure DPS bosses, just because they're too short in this raid. The only time when I use Saber Slash is like in this shell phase, because the boss isn't taking any damage, so you can take it slow with stacking the Saber Slash for the next phase. Again, I did the same trick. I did my Slice and Dice before the shell went off. I almost died, thankfully I didn't. And then I'm just gonna maintain my Saber Slash, at least I'm gonna attempt to maintain my Saber Slash bleed, and ideally I should have used my Rupture bleed as well. Now here I believe that I also did a mistake. When the boss was at 10k HP I should have used 2 combo points Slice and Dice, just because I would have my Slice and Dice up for the rest of the fight. And this is the only time when it's correct to use Eviscerate on this boss, is when he's just about to die. So you're definitely gonna lose DPS if you use Rupture. Third boss was kind of weird to me. I was gonna use my Garrote on her, but as soon as the boss started, I immediately got out of stealth somehow. This boss is basically full Zerg. You will just do the normal opener, get 2 combo points, use Slice and Dice, then get 5 combo points, use Slice and Dice, and you're basically gonna have 1 or 2 more finisher depending on your kill speed. This boss isn't too friendly for melees because you have to move away from the freezing arrow, otherwise you're gonna get stunned for 10 seconds. So this isn't ideal for the backstab build at all, and you're not gonna use Rupture on this boss because like the boss is already basically dead, and I just used 1 more finisher after Slice and Dice, so it's definitely gonna be a Eviscerate. I popped a Thistle Tea. It's completely not necessary to pop Thistle Tea, but if you want to pump more damage, you're gonna pop it. But overall, this boss just rolls over and there's nothing really to talk about here.
It's too far away. Watch it.
Compared to the last raid, I came fully prepared for this boss. I had my tactic in mind, and I knew exactly what to do on this fight. So I was gonna start the boss fight with Garrote, into 1 Backstab, into Slice and Dice, and that was the last Slice and Dice for this phase at least, because the boss health pool is way too low for me to use the second Slice and Dice. Especially if I was with my guild, the boss would almost be dead at this point, and now I would just use 1 Eviscerate to finish the boss, even at 4 combo points. And now for the March of the Murlocs, you just need to find a safe spot where you're not gonna get hit by the little Murlocs, and stack your Saber Slash to 3 stacks. This is definitely gonna be a DPS increase to you, and you're just slowly gonna maintain that Saber Slash. Before the boss phases, use your Slice and Dice, and that Slice and Dice will be the only one that you're gonna use in the second phase. And now the rest of the combo points. First finisher, ideally you wanna use Rupture, but I thought that we don't have the Feral Druid, but Feral Druid wasn't off tanking here, we only had 1 tank. And you can even let your Saber Slash stacks drop when the boss is nearing the death, just like I did there, so I can do 1 more Backstab. And now we're just gonna repeat the first intermission phase and just dodge Murlocs, and somehow I got hit by the projectile here. I thought that he doesn't throw it on the targets which are super close to him. Again, stack the Saber Slash to 3. And right before he's hittable again, with full damage I mean, use your Slice and Dice. And now this is the phase where you should use your cooldowns. I did my Thistle Tea, so I do as much damage, and I went with Vanish Ambush, just because I thought that we're gonna kill the boss a bit quicker, since our first phase was quite fast. I was expecting that the last phase is gonna be even quicker. But we had some unlucky deaths, and I believe that I should have still hit Saber Slash here, but my brain was thinking that the boss is gonna die way too sooner than it actually did. But overall, I was happy with my DPS, considering that this was a sketchy pool, and this raid had a bit lower DPS than your average raid. I was a bit worried for the 5th boss that I won't be able to use my backstab on the totems, but then I actually remembered that totems have the backside, so you can just backstab the backside of the totem. For the opener, I was gonna get at the Elite Naga, but my Garrote missed. You can't do anything about it, so I immediately swapped to the Priestess and make sure that you interrupt her heal. This time a mage interrupted her, so I didn't have to. Again, use your Slice and Dice immediately at 2 stacks at the beginning of the fight. And now ideally for this fight you just want to focus on the priestesses, kill them while cleaving the Elite Naga, because when you kill the priestess you get a new priestess, and lastly the boss. For the best DPS overall, You want to keep the elite kinda alive and you just keep cleaving him. It's not really good for rogues, but it's good for the other classes. We didn't really discuss the tactics, so I thought that Pugs are killing all the totems, but that actually turned out to be incorrect from me, and that's why I DPS'd the first Wind Fury totem. We're just gonna skip them from now on. And this raid group actually just focuses on Lightning Shield totem, which is actually good, so you can basically fully focus on the boss. The only issue with the totems, it's kinda hard to see their backside and front side. So you need to pay closer attention to it, so you can actually backstab the totem. And now the boss is going completely normally. Again, I should have used my Rupture here instead of Eviscerate, but I thought that the druid is gonna be off-tanking, but you don't need an off-tank for this boss. So it was just my mistake. I didn't pay enough attention. And as you can see, I'm not using my Saber Slash here, because it's gonna cost me way too much energy to maintain Saber Slash, and the boss is way too quick, so he's gonna die way too quickly. So I'm definitely just using Backstab on this boss. I opened the boss with Garrote, into Backstab, into Slice and Dice, which is my regular opener, and this boss is quite good to do that, because he's just kneeling and not doing anything. Also, one important thing to note, I was actually charged with interrupting every single shadowy chains on this boss, so I'm gonna tank a lot of energy into just interrupts. And that's not ideal for your DPS output. Also, again, I did a mistake here by not paying attention that the druid is actually sometimes going into cat form and using Mangle, so I should have definitely used my Rupture instead of Eviscerate. Now I got pulled into the Shadowy realm, Shadowy, if whatever the name is, and we were quite unlucky with killing the priestesses, and yeah, it took us quite a while to get out to find a portal. Also, sometimes you won't be able to backstab the priestesses inside, so you just use your Sinister Strike there. I wasn't using Saber Slash on this fight. I basically use Saber Slash with Backstab build whenever there's a downtime on the boss and you can still hit the boss, but it's not taking full damage. In my opinion, it's not really worth doing Saber Slash with Backstab build unless the boss is gonna last for like 2 minutes and you're gonna have pure uptime of those 2 minutes on it. If that's the case, so the boss like lasts for 3 minutes, then I would do like 3 Saber Slashes, Backstabs in between one Saber Slash just to refresh the cooldown of the debuff. Now for the last phase, you should use all of your cooldowns. I used my Tistelty. I actually didn't use Vanish here, even though I should. It's definitely a DPS upgrade, because you can just do Vanish into Garrote, and it's gonna do a lot of damage. And I believe that I had a fat finger by pressing between the eyes. It happens. My Slice and Dice was about to expire, and I had 3 come-up points, so I was just waiting a bit until it fully expires so I can refresh the duration of Slice and Dice, so it's up for the rest of the whole fight. I died here with the last Shadowy Chain cast, and that's why I lost my world buff, but at least the boss is dead, so it's all good. The last boss was actually the only one that we had troubles on. We had a wipe or two, and the whole situation was looking kinda dicey because I really disliked the way they were doing the boss. So I had to start auto stealth because I wanted to get to the boss as soon as I can to start the DPS. I didn't want to use my sprint because I thought that I'll have to use my sprint on the ads. Overall, it's still the same rotation, just backstab into slice and dice, and then do 5 more backstabs into a big slice and dice. After that moment, I just used my combo points on Eviscerate, since this time Druid was full-time off-tanking. I mean, even if he was feral again, I don't think that I would notice that we have Mangle up. Overall, Eviscerate and Rupture, if you don't have a Druid, do similar damage, so it doesn't really matter what you're gonna use. Here the droplets spawned, maybe I should have immediately went for them, but I know that the rogue DPS sucks on the ads, and the last pull we had troubles DPSing the boss to 50%, so we had 2 stacks of ads before 50%, so I just decided to stick on the boss for a bit longer. But now, after finishing the ads, just go to the boss and try to face him as soon as the new ads spawn. That's like the ideal thing to do, because you're gonna have some things to DPS while waiting for the boss to finish his ritual cast or whatever. Here I actually did a smart move. While I was moving away from the boss before facing the ads, I popped a slice and dice so I don't waste my combo points on the boss. And just a bunch of randomness happened here. I mean, I said that we had a clean pull, and then immediately we had another ads coming, and I had no idea from where those came from. I definitely greeted here by DPSing the boss, but they said that we're not killing any ads in the second phase, and I had no clue if this is the second phase because I see a Void Elemental, and you definitely don't need to kill it because you're wasting way too much damage on killing the Void Elemental, so the whole phase is just gonna get super hectic. So at this point I was thinking, oh no, we're gonna have another wipe. I didn't use any of my cooldowns like my Vanish or Tistelty, I was just DPSing it normally. We had a second Void Elemental, so there was a lot of raid damage incoming. Our off-tank died, but we had a combat res, so the situation was looking really bad for us. But I was just focusing the boss, continuing to do my normal rotation, keep up as much slice and dice as I can, use Eviscerate. Now I even picked up a threat from the boss, so I used my evasion immediately, but then luckily the main tank immediately picked up the aggro back, and we actually managed to finish the boss. I was actually surprised that we managed to kill the boss in this pull, but we had 2 battle reses, so that actually helped us quite a lot. What do I think about Backstab build? Well, I'm gonna discuss that in one of my future videos, so please make sure to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss out any of the future content. Thank you for watching, and bye bye.